1979. Man, what a year. I wouldn't know what it was like because that was 20 years before I was born, but from a historical standpoint, it was a great year for Atari. Their video computer system sold more than 1 million units and became the best-selling Christmas gift that holiday season. And as they were just starting to find success, they were also starting to encourage more competition. Toy company Mattel, best known for bringing Barbie to the world amongst many other products, saw how the video game industry was starting to shape and decided to start developing their own system the same year the Atari VCS was introduced. And 2 years later, Mattel would introduce the world what they called intelligent television, or better known by its portmanteau, it's Intellivision. Out of curiosity, when some of you heard of Intellivision for the first time, did you think Intel made the console? Just a random thought. My parents both worked at Intel at one point, but that company never made a system. Instead, this was brought to you by the toy manufacturer that also gave us Hot Wheels. Beat that. The Intellivision was released sometime in 1979 as one of the first consoles that made you choose between it and the 2600. Now, of course, the Odyssey 2 and others were out as well, but this made a great point about being a whole different system. And by looking at the box at this length, you can see it's like no other. It doesn't look the best either, but time waits for no cardboard. Getting a closer look, we get a very nice picture of the master component that lies inside, behind a wide array of games that can be played on your TV by means of intelligence. This was a common thing to see with console boxes. Atari did it first, and Coleco continued the trend. But Intellivision thought one game was so nice that you had to have it twice. Las Vegas Blackjack and Poker is shown off very prominently here. They may be 2 games in one cartridge, but it's still a bit weird. I don't think this would be a game you would want to promote these days. Gambling problems is a big issue in gaming as of this video, along with violent stills, surprisingly. On the top right corner we have the logo, what the logo means for those who don't get it, and the company that made it. It wasn't Mattel themselves who published it. They made a subsidiary called Mattel Electronics to market an electronics brand in the company. They would release plenty of handheld games as well as the Intellivision, but when the crash happened, the division died off pretty much. We'll get back to that thought as we move over to hear about the master component on the other corner that turns your TV into a family center for entertainment, games, and learning fun. Speaking of family, where is that family photo every box loves to have? Oh yeah, there it is, with more blackjack. It is the packing game, so that makes more sense. On another flap, we see mostly the same thing I've shown before, but reduced. I would show you the others, but I doubt you'd want to hear me repeating myself, or show you the damage of this poor box. The back of the box has more to look at, with more of the same screenshots from the games and additional info, along with some more tape covering a slight tad of it. Yeah, I think it's time we put the box out of its misery, so we'll fling it aside and take a closer look at the master component itself. Your TV was just about to get more intelligent when you hooked up this nice looking system to it. I mean, I'm sure you would have believed it back in the day. This thing does scream 70s with its golden brown color with a little wood grain. Again, taking notes from the competitor. But it also has a hint of 80s as it looks metallic and somewhat sleek and futuristic. We're getting both decades thrown into the feelers. It's good. You know what's also good? The controllers being placed right where you can find them, atop the master component. You'll find not 1, but 2 hand controllers hardwired in, and I'm sure it's something you haven't really seen for a console. It was certainly never before seen by that point. but I go into more detail in the AC review that you can watch right now if you want to. It isn't often I say that. It feels good. Maybe I should try planning these out more. Anyway, on closer inspection, we see the logos and name of the system emblazoned in black on the gold plating. A very nice touch. Next to it on the other side is the reset button and the on and off switch, which is what all systems needed. The biggest requirements were these, I'm sure. Another requirement was, of course, having a cartridge slot. The Intellivision had its own library of games. We'll touch on them more in a bit, but I should point out that they may be the worst cartridge design ever, as all they were was a long square with half a trapezoid showing the title of the game. If only they could put a cool sticker on either side. I mean, they could have, but that would have been too much work for the software. Still on the hardware, the back doesn't have much to show off other than the regular plug cable and RF cable. Never really seen this type of look for an RF. I'm used to seeing this type myself. There is more to see as we take a moment to flip and see the bottom part of the master component, which has what you would expect: foot pads, screws, other smaller holes, vents, and the channel 3 and 4 switch. The more noticeable things are, of course, the stickers, along with the smaller round ones and the bright orange service phone numbers. Glad we have these to try nowadays. We also have two of the same sticker that show model and serial numbers, as well as other info related to this hobby equipment, as this sticker calls it. Not every day you get two, so let's move back to the side and put a cartridge where this little number is. If anybody knows what this refers to, please let me know in the comments. Last time I guessed, I got rightfully told of my wrong. Now, the games themselves are worth pointing out. You see, the big deal with the Intellivision was down to two things. First, while it didn't have the big arcade hits, it had its sports titles like NFL football and Major League Baseball, one of the first companies to get the licenses from the big sports leagues. Second, with the other games they did have, they looked somewhat better than what you could get with Atari. People took real note after seeing poet George Plimpton become the spokesperson and compare the two systems time and time again, showing off Astro Smash, Space Hawk, Snafu, Utopia, and Night Stalker, to name a few. And people started to know the difference, including third-party companies like Activision, who ported their great games like Pitfall and Stampede to the system, and others would follow suit not so long after. The games were indeed great to look at. How you felt about the control scheme can vary between gamers. The Intellivision was still a popular system back in its day, getting a good following, selling like crazy, plus getting a few revisions including a release under Tandy, the parent company of Radio Shack. But when the video game crash of 1983 hit, this was of course a victim, but surprisingly not in the way you would think, because when Mattel decided to close the electronics division, dedicated developers formed a new company and continued to sell the system until 1990. I didn't even know that before doing research, and I thought the Atari lived the longest. Today, the memory of this system still goes strong with a very hardcore following that keeps its nostalgic feel on par to those of its competitors of the time. And if you so happen to find an Intellivision out there for a reasonable price, you should get one for yourself, so you can see what kind of intelligence you could bring to your television with Intellivision. Going back to Tandy real quick, during the golden age of gaming, they were a presence some would see. Whether it be for the Tandyvision or for their TRS-80 computer, or for their abundance of dedicated consoles. They made or licensed a ton of portable systems, and some were more interesting than others, of course. And on the next episode, I picked one out that just needs to be seen to be believed. If you think I missed anything, please leave a comment. If you like what you see, leave a like. If you think others could get knowledge out of this, share this video. And if you want to see more, go ahead and subscribe. Now, if you'll excuse me, Nostalgia is calling.